Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Outside of Life, where it's all about how you can turn your creative passion into a profession. My name is Eva, and my guest today is an amazing illustrator and concept artist from Stuttgart, Germany. She attended Art Academy in Düsseldorf, where she trained to draw and paint traditionally. She is now working part-time as a concept artist for a gaming company, Chasing Carrots, in Stuttgart, and her art was just featured in the Imaginative magazine. She enjoys working on imaginative fantasy-related projects, which she does either digitally or with the pencils nowadays. She described her work as having a tendency to being melancholic and withdrawn. She loves to paint, adorn, and graceful creatures, often combined with organic and nature-related elements. So please welcome Chantal Horeis, and let's get to the interview. So, hello everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Outside of Life. And please welcome my guest today, Chantal.
Hi.
So, hello, and I would like to start with your background. And let's talk about maybe when was the first time you remembered you drew something what you kind of enjoyed, or maybe what was the first thing you drew?
I don't really remember the first thing that I drew, but I still have some drawings from my kindergarten time, so I can look that up. The first things that I still remember is of course, Sailor Moon was a big influence for me. Always loved it, made me draw in the first place, I think. We had a group of kids when I was younger, and we were playing outside, role playing, like we were witches and wizards and all that kind of stuff. And I was always like drawing everyone's character in the evening when I was at home, and gave them assets and told, oh, you have this and this power. And this was the start, I guess. And I loved that. I always did that. And it was the best part for me, because next day I came back and was like giving the sheets out to people and here you go. This is your character. You look like that. You have red hair or something like that.
That's
And
so cool.
yeah. And of course, Disney characters. I love drawing Disney characters and all that.
And so, which were kind of like the biggest decisions you had to do in order to follow your passion?
The first one, I guess, was right after high school. I started to study fine art, painting in Düsseldorf, and I quit after 2 years. So I didn't finish the program because I think the whole philosophy of the school wasn't really where I fit in with the stuff or the work that I wanted to do. And the school was more very like performance art, or that's wrong. It's not like they're only doing performance art at that academy, but more a very different kind of very free also, which wasn't what I wanted to find there, because I went there to learn more about drawing and painting, like skills really, or tips and tricks, whatever. And it was more like they gave you a space to work in, and they said, okay, go. Just do something, and maybe once a year we look at it and say if it's okay or not. So it was really already like being a fine artist and having an atelier and stuff, but not really having someone to learn from. I mean, you could learn from your colleagues there, but I missed instructions or tasks or something like that would really put me through some things and gave me more skills. And I didn't get that there. So I was really depressed by that, and I thought that the things that I love to do I couldn't do there, and I did different things, and I tried to fit in, and I lost fun in painting, and then I quit. And I thought maybe I'm not an artist, or it's not for me. Obviously, I didn't fit in there, and the school has a really good reputation. So I thought, okay, might be not for me. And I studied cognitive science, something totally different.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had a big break with art for 2 or 3 years before I made the second decision to not become a scientific researcher and to find my way back into art, and just applied for an internship at a video game company as a concept artist. And I got the internship, and I still work there as a concept artist now. And I'm very happy with that decision. So yeah.
And so how did you put together the portfolio, or what were the works you kind of prepared for them? Was it something from the school before, or are you creating like new assets? Maybe like you painted there digitally, traditionally before, so now this was digital, or what was your thinking?
Yeah, the portfolio I sent to them was digital art. I think it was after 2 years of not doing any art that I started to paint digitally. I haven't done it before, and I had a small space at that time, so I couldn't put my huge canvas on and put my oils out. And I thought, okay, maybe I could try digital art. And I started to become very fascinated by all the game art stuff and stuff people do for animation and so on. And so I thought, okay, I have to try that. And I did. And so I practiced a lot and got a small portfolio together. And it was good enough, obviously. And was very happy about that, to not have to do a master's degree or to just start working in science. Yeah,
so in the field basically you like more. And so when you were preparing all of these artworks, they were more like I don't know, props, or was it more like character designs, or was it like locations, or did you mix everything?
I think it wasn't props, and they were more finished illustrations than there were really concepts. So it wasn't a portfolio where you have different versions of characters, for example, or something like that. But it was more paintings that I did with different characters in it, because usually I do art that have characters in it, even though I enjoy like cool landscape concept art. But when I start drawing, there's a character in it for sure. So yeah. I had a painting with a dragon, for example, or a painting where you have a character in the center of the painting or something, and just finished illustration.
Yeah, and so what was your tool you used? Was it like a tablet? You did like Intuos or Cintiq right away? Or how did you kind of like try the first digital works?
I always had a bamboo Wacom tablet. Even though I haven't done digital art ever, I tried it once, but I didn't like it. So I always used the tablet as a mouse.
Sure.
Not painting on a computer, just using the tablet as a mouse. So I was really used to having the pen in my hand and using it on the computer. That was not the problem for me. And so I started with the tablet on my table, looking at the screen, using Photoshop. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because you were already trained like traditionally, so you knew how to use like values and anatomy and all of these things. So it was just to learn basically how to do it in a computer, more or less.
Yeah, well, I learned a lot more about those things that you just mentioned as well, because as I said, at the school, at the art school that I went to, we didn't really have it. There was nobody who told you about values or something. So I had what I knew already, but that wasn't enough, I felt like. And so I searched the internet for every free tutorial in the beginning that I could find. Later on, I did classes on schoolism.
Okay.
And yeah,
so
that was really helpful.
So did you do like the character design classes, or what did you study when you were preparing?
You mean for the portfolio, for the job?
Yeah. Or even now, like what is the kind of go-to, like classes, or what are you like focused on learning?
Right now I study, do you know the books from Andrew Loomis is his name, and he has. I have two of his books, and right now I study the figure drawing book just to get better at that, because I find myself usually when I draw for fun, I always do like faces, maybe hands, and then it stops. And I always have to force myself to go into the parts that I'm not so used to, and that helps a lot just to copy from that book, or just to get in that mindset that he has. And so it's always a cool thing to have if you read a book and you really can see how that artist thinks when he draws, not just seeing the artwork, but knowing what goes behind that. I always find that very fascinating and helpful. Yeah, books right now, but hopefully I'm doing an online course in the near future again, because I think that's very helpful.
Yeah, that's definitely nice. And what was maybe like the best advice you kind of like stuck with you?
The best advice. I think, first of all, not to be discouraged very fast, because obviously as an artist you often are not satisfied with what you do. And I think, in the beginning, that was one of the best advices. I know that now, and I know when I don't feel good about my art that it is going to go away. Probably it's because I'm learning something right now and I'm not good at it yet. That's very helpful. So you don't quit on art. I did.
But I mean, your drawing are already like, they're amazing. So it's like
thank you.
When someone, is learning and they look at it, it's like, oh my God, but this is super cool. So it's good to see that, people are still like learning basically all the time.
Yeah. I think that's one of the parts that make it even better and more fun because you have a drive to learn all the time. At least that's for me, and I'm sure that's for most artists, that you want to get better, because even nowadays where you have the internet and can see so many other artists, and you always think they're so much better than you and they can do so many cool stuff, you always have the drive to learn more and to be better. At least that's how I feel. And it's fun to learn more and to see your progress and compare what you did last year, what you did this year, and feel, you got better. And
Yeah, because I saw also these, posts on Instagram, and when people are posting like, oh, this is how I drew like a few years back, and this is where am I now. So it's always super cool to see your own progress, like how it changes.
Yeah. I have never done a post like this, but I always enjoy that, seeing it with other people. I recently got through all my old sketchbooks, and that was super fun. Because not only do you see your progress, but you can see what elements you already had a few years ago that you still keep, like maybe certain gestures that you do or something like that. And I found it very interesting to see that I had that 2 years ago already, or 3 years, and that obviously there is something that's unique about my style, maybe that I keep. Although I'm learning from so many different people, there's still something that I had in there in the beginning that I still see in there.
Yeah.
It was fun. Yeah.
And so how do you maybe approach learning? Because if you imagine someone just starting out and there are so many things you need to learn, like light and values and anatomy and blah, blah, blah. So there's so many things. So how would you kind of set your goals for learning, or how do you do it?
I remember that in the beginning I was very overwhelmed with all the things I could or should learn, like you said, and I didn't know where to begin, and I made plans and schedules and everything, but it was like, I can never learn all of that. I don't know. By time I more went with interest, I guess. Of course, you have to have a certain idea about lighting and values and anatomy, but I think for me it's better to not get stuck to the idea that I have to master everything, and I'm only doing studies and not do anything else anymore, because I'm not perfect at that yet. So that would keep me from drawing, I guess. So I I try to have like the book that I read right now about the figure drawing. I have that, and it's fine that it takes me a few weeks to go through it and to learn it all. And other than that, I think I go by the idea that when I do a painting and I come to a problem at a certain point, that I then go in and study to get better at that certain thing that I need to finish that painting, because otherwise I will have hundreds of studies in the end and not really finished anything.
Yeah.
And so I try to find out what I need and then study that.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, because it's nice to kind of see where, like, okay, maybe now I focus on a figure drawing, then maybe I focus on like hands, then I can try color, and just like take it step by step, because then you might go crazy.
Yeah, and then you maybe would spend half a year or something on color, or a year on color and lighting, and you won't get better at the other things. So maybe in the end you have good lighting skills, but your anatomy is still weird because you never try to apply everything to anything or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, when you're creating your artworks, what is your main inspiration? Do you go to nature, or do you maybe collect some references online, or how do you do it?
Yeah, both of the things you said, basically. So for first, I have a Pinterest folder that's just called inspiration, where I put all the images in that when I search through Pinterest, which I do sometimes, and it works for me. It really does. It's really nice to have a page where you have all the images collected that you felt something about when you saw them the first time. And that's a little bit like the sketchbook thing I was talking about, that you see similarities between different stages in your art skills. And you also see similarities in the things that you have in that inspiration folder, at least for me, and that helps me to find out what are the things that I'm into, because I often get a little bit confused by all the artwork that I can find online and everywhere in the world. And to keep me from wanting to do it all, this inspiration folder is perfect, because it motivates me first, and second, it keeps me a little bit on track of what I really like and what's really important to me. And the other thing is, going outside. And even though I mostly do characters, it's super inspiring to me just to go on a walk and see little patterns in like stones that are lying around, or like brick on trees and everything. Just textures sometimes that I think are super inspiring to me. Yeah.
And then you can apply this maybe to like outfit or like a layout or something like that.
Yeah, for example.
Cool.
Or maybe find a weird composition in them that I could maybe try or something. I don't know, but it really it's always it motivates me to just go home and start drawing, or get out my sketchbook and draw there if I have it with me.
Yeah, but so you always take your sketchbook with you when you go. So it's not that you take a picture.
Sometimes I take a picture if I don't have the time to get my sketchbook out. I try to bring it everywhere I go.
So you have like a small one, or what do you carry with you?
I have this size.
Okay, that's Moleskine, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's Moleskine, right? I like it the best. I tried a few, but this is I like the paper and the size, and it fits in every bag. So
yeah, and so what would you kind of recommend people to try? Like first, maybe like a favorite sketchbook or a pencil, which you like, some maybe brand if they want to try one pencil or more.
You mean if they already decided they want to go with pencils first on paper?
Yeah, for example, what are your favorite tools?
I usually use those pencils from Faber-Castell. Can you see? And I use different softness. Yeah, the softness of them are different. I have very hard ones and very soft ones, and in between different stages, because I usually start my drawings by taking the hardest pencil, which will be the lightest on my paper, so I can draw the basic composition first and the basic elements that I want my drawing to have without having to be very certain about every line that I make, because it's so light on the paper that I can either erase it, or even if I leave it there, as soon as I take my 4B pencil or my 8B pencil, the other one won't be visible anymore because the contrast is so high with the other ones. And then I go up and get more and more certain with my drawing and find out where my darkest parts are. And then I go really in with the soft pencils and make it as dark as I can, because I like to have a very large value range in the drawing.
Yeah, definitely. And so this process, or this is how you use pencils, did you get inspired by someone online, or some of your friends kind of advised you to try, or did you kind of like try it yourself and it's like, okay, I like this?
Actually, I started drawing like that almost a year ago. Before that, I always used only a 3B pencil or something like that, and just did it with one pencil only. But I visited a workshop last year in September. It's in Portugal. It's Trojan Horse Was a Unicorn. I don't know if you have heard of it.
No,
it's a artist workshop, and they have like many really, really cool artists there. And I got to meet a few that I knew from podcasts and artists interviews. And there was one artist, her name is Nadezhda, or Nadia Mogilev, I think is her full name. And she's a concept artist and a fine artist, and she does beautiful pencil drawings. And she encouraged me to, because she does that as well, being really dark in her drawings and using like everything that the pencil can do, she does, I think, and that was very inspiring. So that started me to think about more how I can make use of a pencil and not just just use it without really thinking about it. I'm not really going into the medium, but really try what can I do with that. And that was very inspiring for me.
So like a full potential of the pencil.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you can do more than just putting down your lines, what I did basically before that, and but also using shapes, for example, and using the texture that you can get with a pencil. And
and so what was the name again of the festival? That was the unicorn something?
It's called Trojan Horse Was a Unicorn.
Okay.
Short would be THU.
Okay.
But if you go by Trojan Horse Was a Unicorn and Portugal, you will find the workshop, and it's always in September, mid of September, and they always announce the artists that are going to be there with the countdown to the event. So I'm still always waiting for more news, but they already have so many amazing artists there. I'm really happy to go.
So are you planning to go also this year?
Yes, I'm going again.
Ah, cool. Because when we release this interview, it will be already September. So probably for listeners, it will be too late. But then the next year they can go.
Yeah, I'm sure the next year it will be there as well. So just check it out and and see whether you can get a ticket. I think they always sell the tickets in the beginning of the year. So
Cool.
if it's already too late, which it might be then in January or February, is a good time to look for it.
And so maybe what are the other events or festivals you go to, or maybe how do you do networking?
First of all, that workshop. And then I did a comic convention last year and this year, but only in Stuttgart.
Yeah.
So only once a year. That was a good way to do networking. But I also use the internet and just social media and writing mails maybe to people that inspire me, or that I think maybe if I think we have something to talk about, maybe just write them, and maybe they answer, maybe they don't. I haven't had anyone who hasn't replied, so that's always a good way, I think, just to reach out to people if you like their work, or maybe they're close by and you could meet up or something like that. That's always a good thing. And
So,
but the art workshop helped a lot to meet other artists.
And did you have a table there on that workshop, or did you just attend it, the classes? Because in Stuttgart you had a table when you can sell your art, right?
Yeah. Right. In Stuttgart, I had a table, but at THU, I was just an attendee and was there to learn a lot. So I listened to talks, and we had portfolio reviews, or they do even, they have big companies there that do, you can go to an interview there. So for all the attendees, they can sign up for interviews for different companies that are really interesting in the entertainment world. So that's really cool.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I haven't heard about that one, so now I'm really like, okay.
Yeah, you have to look it up.
Yeah, definitely. And so when we mentioned as well, so you are selling your art prints, and you also have a job with the concept art. So what is your main income stream? Is it the full-time job, or how do you combine your incomes?
My main income is from the concept job at the video game company. They're called Chasing Carrots. They're here in Stuttgart. Really cool team. And I work there part-time now, so I always work a week there, and then I have a week off, and then I'm a week back, and so on. So I'm starting now to find an additional income stream with the stuff or the work that I do at home. Selling prints is not a big income for me yet, but it would be nice to have a bit more of that, or I don't know, maybe sometime in the future have a Patreon or something like that. Just being able on the side to do my work and make a little bit of income with that as well would be the next goal for me.
Yeah. Are you planning to do maybe like books as well, or it's more the tutorial, or kind of maybe what are the next exciting projects you want to work on?
Well, a book would be great, like putting all my sketches together and do a book maybe. I don't feel like I'm there yet, but I also know that I will never feel like I'm ready for that. So but I have to see how many I have, and then maybe somewhere in the next year starting something like that, because I really would love to do like a sketchbook of the things that I did in the last months. Would be great.
Yeah. I think the people would love it because it's so nice.
Oh, thank you.
So that's super cool. And then, so now you are on social networks. You are mostly on Instagram, or where are the places people can find you?
Mostly Instagram. I do the most posts there and show most of my art on Instagram. I also have Twitter, Tumblr, and Facebook, but it's more because I think I should. Well, I like Tumblr, for example, very much because it's very easy to show your work there, I think, without, for example, when you have like your main social media on Instagram, it's easy to have Tumblr on the side, I think, because Tumblr is, you don't have to invest so much in it. At least that's how I feel. I have more followers on Tumblr than on any other platform without really doing anything but posting. It's like it runs for itself. That's my feeling about Tumblr. So I like that.
Yeah.
Not that I don't like to interact with people, but when you have different social medias, it's nice to have one where you don't have to focus so much on stuff around posting. I mostly do that on Instagram, and I think Instagram does a really good job for artists there. You can communicate with followers or people who like your work very easily by comments, and you can even like comments now. That's really cool.
Yeah. I like it as well.
Yeah. Facebook and Twitter are not really. I still try to post on there, but I think it's the reach that I have there kind of tells me that I don't really know how to use this social media, I think. Because it's usually I post something on there and then I get a few responses to it. It shouldn't be all about the likes, I know, but a little bit of response or feedback, whether the things you show or do are nice. And I'm still working on how to do that on Twitter and Facebook. So I think, yeah, but Instagram.
Some more Instagram.
I would go for Instagram.
And so is there something you wish you knew before you started?
Yeah, as I said before, the thing that you will always have times that you don't feel good about your art. Mm-hmm. And luckily, I knew that from a very early point because I got addicted to podcasts and artist interviews. And of course, there were always people who would tell you, it's okay if you feel bad about your art. It's part of it, and still go through that. So I had that early on. And but I think it's something you really need to know from the beginning in order to not give up on it. Yeah. And that usually when you feel bad and when you feel like you don't have any talent or the piece you just drew or painted is really crappy, usually that's when you get better, or when you are learning something. Or people always say that's when your tastes get better, which is always right before your skills are going to get better. I always go by that. And then every time I feel bad, I now know, okay, maybe that's a sign. I have to do more, and I have to accept that it's not good. But I keep going even if I feel bad about it, and try to get better. That's important, I think. And also don't throw away your early stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So the main motivation, maybe what you have, is that you would see the improvement, and you are like, okay, this is kind of how I would progress. Or do you have other motivation which kind of keeps you going?
Yeah, for sure, getting better is a very important motivation for me, but also reaching certain goals, like really having a book maybe someday. Or I still dream about trying to do a comic one day, because I have a lot of stories in my head, and I would really like to tell those stories, but I haven't really found a way to do that yet. I don't know if comic will be the right medium for me. But that motivates me, that hopefully in the next couple of years I will be able to tell these stories. And that's something I'm excited about. I recently started to write a bit more with my drawings, which I never done before, because I told myself that I'm not good at writing. I can draw, but writing is not my best ability.
Yeah.
But I just started to do it, and they're always somehow they're not telling much, but having my stories about a character, the story about a character or something, I can get something out of there that I can put in that drawing then. And people have told me that they enjoy that, and I will try to do more of that. As I said, it's the beginning of telling a story for me, and that's exciting, and that's something that motivates me now.
Oh, that's perfect. And so, how
Yeah.
do you design your day when you are not at at the office? Because then, if you have like the week, that okay, this is all the time I have to work on my art. So, do you plan the week in advance, or do you have like certain routines every day?
Right now, I plan the day by day. Of course, I have a project that I know that I really have to get through this week, but I write that down separately, and then I plan every day in the morning. I use programs where I can make lists that I have to do,
Okay.
and so. I would usually start with doing some email stuff and social media posts, because I usually do them in the morning. So I have the whole day for them to be on there and people to see them. But actually, I just thought about changing that, because I would like to start my day with just drawing. Because I've been told once by another artist that, it was also the one that I mentioned before, Nadia. She said that you are not more like purely yourself or with yourself and your thoughts than right after waking up, before you put yourself in contact with the outside world, like doing emails, going on social media, watching a video or something. And I did that for a few weeks last year, and was really good. But then I lost it somehow. But I would love to start my day just by drawing and doing the email stuff and everything a little bit later in the day, and then go on to projects that I have to finish, or yeah.
Yeah.
I usually do studies in between when I feel stuck with whatever I'm doing. It's a good way to just say, okay, I don't know how to resolve that problem, so I just use the time and study a little bit, and maybe with a fresh eye and new skills, I can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I actually heard this from many people as well, as you mentioned, the first thing in the morning. And I also read the book, The Miracle Morning, and they are suggesting that kind of to spend it on your own, kind of that you can also do meditation, or you write down your ideas, and kind of so you don't spend time on someone else, but on you.
Yeah. Yeah. Magical Morning. I haven't heard about it.
Miracle Morning.
A Miracle Morning. Okay.
Yeah, it's a book. We can put it in the show notes as well for people.
Yeah, that would be good.
And what are your favorite books? If you mentioned already some, and is there something you would give as a gift to people, or something like this is a must read?
For artists, I have two books that I would recommend. There's one that's called Art and Fear. I have it here prepared. It's this one. And it's basically about all the worries that you have as an artist, and explaining you why it's okay to have them, and how you can deal with that. Really cool. Helped a lot. I read it twice, because you can forget about it again, and then after a year you should read it again, and you feel better then. And another one that I really like, but that I haven't finished yet, is The Art Spirit. It's by Robert Henry. He was an artist as well, and he wrote down all his thoughts about making paintings and doing art, and as I said, I like to read about the thought process and how to go about painting and which things are important, which are not for him. And of course, you shouldn't take every advice that you hear from every artist, because you can't, and because people will contradict each other sometimes. So you just can't. But you can get the information, and then you can find out which fits for you. And if I read things like that, I sometimes you see thoughts written down that you maybe felt in your head but never really had in words or something, or they explain something to you and you just feel like, whoa, thank you, and now I have to close the book and just let it sink in. And so
so it's good to exactly, like just to find like what fits you, and just to see what is around, and maybe you find your voice basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And what I also wanted to ask you, because you mentioned some of the scheduling tools, what do you use, or what is the software you use, or maybe is there something which simplifies your life, maybe something you bought as well?
Well, I bought a program just recently. It's called Time 2, so time with a Y and then just the 2, the number.
Okay.
It's for Mac only, I think. I use it on my iPad, and it basically you can put tasks in your dashboard, your overview of all the things that you have to do, and you can make a hierarchy of projects that you have, which is really cool. Because you can have different projects and then different tasks for everyone, and you can, as soon as you start on one task, you can hit play and it will record the time that you actually spend on it. And it was a bit shocking to see my result in the end of the day, to see how many hours I actually worked. Because obviously I sit on my desk the whole day, but at the end you only have 6 or 7 hours work done. That was shocking for me to realize, but good, because now I see that obviously I spend a lot of time doing things in between, or just getting on YouTube and start watching videos, but then watch 5 videos instead of just one, and the time goes away. And it also has the nice effect that now when I want to record my working time, I really don't want to do anything else in the time that I record for working. So when I hit play, because I want to do my drawing now, I'm not going to watch a video in that time, because it wouldn't make the time that I have in the end representative of my day, really. And that motivates me to really have that time then to draw. So time tracking apps.
Yeah, definitely. But that's a really good idea, because then you kind of know what is, happening with your time. So, and you are more cautious about like what you are actually doing. So it's just don't go to YouTube or whatever. So yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah, I hope it will better my my efficiency with everything. I started a few days ago, so I don't know yet.
Yeah.
But
it sounds good. And so the last questions I want to ask you, it's about the future, and maybe we talked about the book and the comic a bit, but if you imagine yourself in 5 to 10 years, like what would be the dream scenario for you?
I think the dream scenario, as I said earlier, I think would be to have a successful, maybe Patreon campaign, something that where you have people that are happy to see your newest creations and then would support you to work on your own things. I always envy those people that have successful Patreon campaigns, because I think it's so cool that you just do your work and people think it's so amazing that you do that work that they will give you money for that, even if it's just a small amount, but they would say, I give you $1 just so you can do your drawings every day. and to really have. For me, it would be a freedom, I think, just to know I can do that, and it will be supported by others. Yeah, so that, and maybe doing a Kickstarter or something like that is.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see that. It would be super
dream.
cool.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. I'm sure that will happen, and maybe even sooner than you think.
Yeah, maybe. You just have to try it, right?
Yeah.
And even if it fails, you can do it again.
Exactly. So that's a good thing. And then maybe like far future, what would you like to be remembered for in 100 years?
I think maybe for the hopefully beautiful stories that I created. In what form, I don't know yet. Books, games, movies. As I said, I'm not sure about that yet, but the stories I tell and the characters in there, and I would love people to say, oh, her stories, they have so much imagination and they're so magical and dreamlike, something like that. I don't know.
But it's perfect.
Yeah, that would be something I would want to be remembered for.
Nice. Thank you so much for being here and inspiring others. And if you have...
thank you.
Sorry. If you have like a last piece of guidance for everyone you can share before we say goodbye.
I think practicing a lot is good, and finding the kind of art that you really like to do, and but don't rush with that. I think it will take time. I don't think I'm 100% there yet, but it's getting better for me, and I think everyone can be sure that they have a unique thing about their artwork, and if they search for it and be true to what they should do or not, they will find it sometimes.
Perfect. Thank you so much again, and thanks everyone for joining. Super cool.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Perfect. So let's do some kind of like a follow-up, maybe in a year or later, see where you are.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Yeah.
So that's perfect. So thank you, and bye everyone.
Bye.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and let me know in comments. Also, please subscribe to my channel for more videos, because I post new interview every single workday. You can also find the resources mentioned in this episode at artsideoflife.com. Just type a guest name in the search bar. There is also a little freebie waiting for you, so go check it out. If you want to listen to the interviews on the go, make sure to check out the podcast episodes at artsideoflife.com/podcast. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and don't forget to inspire each other. I will see you guys in the next episode.